Looking back, now it's been several years since you returned home. What can you say you're certain of about North Korea? Is there anything you can say that you're certain of when it comes to North Korea?
The only thing I'm sure of is the way I feel about the people there. I don't think that will ever change, and I will never stop thinking about them. And it's very hard.
So since you returned home, have you been able to share your experience with your family, friends? Because I know that sometimes it's difficult to share your experiences, especially when it comes to North Korea, because, like you said, people have these preconceived ideas.
Yeah, I've really struggled to share, because I've felt for a long time, and I felt like when I was there as well, I felt like nobody would understand. I would try. I'd find I'd end up struggling to really accurately convey how I felt and the complexity of it. And as I mentioned with this piece, it's taken me a long time to put it together. And I don't feel like there's anything I can ever say or write or produce that is really going to encapsulate everything. But I feel like with this, I'm 200 pages closer to getting to that answer. But it is a very difficult thing, and that's the big part of the reason as well why I also wrote this.
Could you tell me what post your husband was serving at the time?
Yeah, so it's the British Embassy that's based there, and he's a political secretary. Well, he was, obviously not anymore.
So you arrived in June 2017. North Korea had done their nuclear testing, and then this was followed by many different testings, including an ICBM that you mentioned. What was the sound of ICBM like? Because you mentioned it in the book, and I just wonder, what does it sound like?
The only thing I can describe it to be similar to is like a plane going overhead that doesn't stop. Ordinarily, you hear aircraft going overhead and they fade into the distance, but this didn't fade away.
And so you suddenly hear this thing going over your head. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
That I jumped to the conclusion that it might be something bad, but I didn't know that that's what that would be. And the most surprising thing for me was that some of the North Koreans who I knew around the compound, who I bumped into that day, were really excited about it and were talking to me about it, said, "Oh, did you see it? Did you hear it?" The weight and the significance of that event that was being reported in world news was being spoken about like, have you seen, this new bus that's gone past, or have you seen this new shop that's open? And it's just a really dramatic difference from what you feel is the end of the world, because you don't live in that situation, and that's not a part of your everyday life like it is for North Korean people. And you go, is that what everybody feels like because these people have said that that's their reaction, or is it just them? And that's the thing, you can't ask. You can't ask because you're putting that person in too much of a dangerous situation, too much of a risk, if you ask them what their real opinion is.
What other big changes did you see in Pyongyang in terms of people during your stay?
I think it's very tempting to label North Korea as somewhere that doesn't change, because its control over its people, the way it operates, has really, at its core, in terms of the Kim dynasty, has stayed the same for a very long time. And they've held on to that structure of control and power. But North Korea is not somewhere that stays static. It does change in very small ways. And for me, it was really seeing at a very kind of localized level, just very small things that were actually going on, but I didn't really know much about. And that was even things like attitudes towards foreigners, attitudes towards foreign goods from people in Pyongyang. For example, some North Korean women that I knew were really excited about the fact that very recently they were able to wear jewellery and fancy shoes and express themselves through their accessories, even though their clothes are very strictly, and their accessories and shoes are as well, but very strictly controlled. They were able to wear these things that they weren't allowed to before.
What would you say were your happiest moments in North Korea, if there could be happiest moments in North Korea? I don't know if this is a right question to ask.
I think for me, it's feeling happy there was a source of guilt for me a lot of the time, because I used to feel like I'm in this place where people are going through so many things that I can't see. And for me to find happiness in small moments, it felt like I shouldn't be feeling that way. For me, I talk about a particular spontaneous interaction, which were among my most cherished memories, where I was at a water park. It was very hot, and there was a balcony overlooking the water park, and there's lots of families having fun. An older man walked up to me who had been eating with his family with two young children standing next to him, and came over to speak to me. And I said hello in Korean, and the children got very worried because I spoke Korean to them, and I heard them say, "Oh, she speaks Korean." And he sort of patted them on the head, and he had this inflatable rubber duck in his arms, and he just handed it to me, and I thought, that's a bit strange, but he handed me the duck, and inside was a little brand new baby, all wrapped up, asleep. She was so cute, and there was a split second of me kind of going, what is happening? He wanted to celebrate his new granddaughter, and I asked him what her name was. He was really proud to say, she was one of 7 grandchildren, and we just had this lovely moment of talking about this baby. And he asked me if I had children. I said no, and he laughed and pointed to his watch and went, "Oh, you better hurry up! Hurry, clock is ticking." And his friend came over, and it was just a really lovely moment of just spending time with people. And then within maybe 5-10 minutes, a man appeared in a suit who sat down at a table nearby. And I don't know what he was there to do. He could have just been going for a drink. He could have not been. I will never know. But the point is not that what he was there to do. The point is that when he appeared, that interaction stopped, and the man asked me to hand back the baby, and he smiled and nodded his head, and he walked away, and that was over. But you have to just accept that that's the way it is, and then for those small moments that you have, really cherish them, because they're really special.
They often say you can hate the system, but not the people. Do you feel that to be the true in your case?
Absolutely. And I think as a human being, you start to go, well, what can I do about it? I have to be able to do something. And then the layer beyond that, you then go, well, why is this going on? Why has someone else not done something? Why have the North Korean people not all rallied up? Why don't they do something? And that's ridiculous, because it's obviously not that simple. It's so complex. And I just think at the heart of everything are the people. And I think at the moment, our minds need to be focused on them as much as possible. The borders are closed, but that does not mean that we should be closed off to thinking about them.